I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one to stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever.
You did. You gon' die. You gon' die. You gon' die. Yeah. What it mean? Yeah. What it mean? I'm outside, pop out game with the team. What it mean? We all lit, that's on game, that's on game. Yeah. Murder, murder, slag, chop a big and blow you back.
I am fit.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. Oh shit, I don't know what episode this is. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Large Lads episode 27. I'm not gonna lie, the hiatus this time was my fault. Usually it's Sam's fault. This one, I'm not gonna lie, I got very sick, and then I got Pinkeye. Which also, I am a fucking idiot. I was at the gym, I was like, dude, it's so weird, my eyes are like gross right now. And I was like wrapping my session, I was like, oh, this is Pinkeye, and I'm an asshole for finishing my section.
It's even a little gross, but very funny. Max and I are full-blown retarded. Max woke up that morning. I'm usually just like up and about in the kitchen when Max gets up at like 10:30, 11. Max comes over, he's like, bro, you want to hear something crazy? I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. And it's like, you know, like you get like eye goop in the morning? I had so much eye goop, my eye was like sealed shut. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. I was like, what a and then he left for work and went to the fucking gym. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. That's a lot of eye goop.
I was like, what a weird phenomenon that was. Moving on. And then at the gym, I was like, oh god, what the fuck is happening?
I'll make sure I include our like our trademark fat guy pose.
Oh, that's the iconic, just like cover your man boobs.
Yeah, like weirdly zoomed in, like cover up this way. It's the only pose us fat fellas hit. I can't do a good most muscular. It looks like shit.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. My gut is too visible.
I think I'm too narrow across the shoulders.
Oh.
But that's like a big thing on TikTok is like
the clavicles.
Really chonky dudes that are not that strong that are convinced they have like 50 fat-free mass index because they're 20%. No.
There's like a lot of dudes where I'm like, man, you're a very not that crazy impressive lifter, but it's just like, imagine the cut.
Imagine the cut. Well, I do think people get that wrong. I really think you can build a fucking hell of a lot of muscle natty, and like where that's lost in communication is that you can't hold it while dieting down to be really lean.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's like one of the big things. And obviously drugs do a lot in bodybuilding, but holding muscle while getting into extremely depleted states, a natural athlete's going to have like a huge down regulation in like just testosterone and growth hormone as they like cut down, so their ability to hold their muscle when they get really lean is pretty poor. Mm-hmm. So I think people get like this wrong idea of like how much muscle a natural person could have based on like natural lifters when they get lean, how big they are.
Yeah.
But it's like if you just took someone like you or like Nate, right, who just wasn't outstandingly lean and just stayed heavy and lifted, like if you could just like snap off the fat, it'd be a lot more muscle than people think, you know? I think Freaky D has talked about this too, which is just like, I think you can hold a ton of muscle. It's just whether you can retain it on the cut that becomes dubious.
Yeah, I mean, like, you gotta think, like, what's like, if we're you know, yada yada, tested doesn't mean drug-free or whatever.
Yep.
But if we are to believe people, it's like, you know, someone like Ray Williams or Jesus have like some of the most muscle of anyone. They're just
Fucking
really
ever.
fat. They're just,
Well, and yeah, I think even like I don't know, like Bromley did a whole thing on this, right? Like fat-free mass index before steroids were invented, but the gene pool of people who have access to the gym now is so much bigger than the pre-steroid era. Mm-hmm. To suggest that's like the upper end of natural capability is very not likely correct.
Yeah.
Just because it was only a very small swath of the total human population that had access to a gym and access to like high protein diets. And that's not to mention the bit of progress we've made forward in methodology and training and nutrition since then, which I'm being very generous in calling it only a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? To say that's like the upper end of potential is probably wrong. I don't want to talk about that. I got something much funnier to talk about.
Oh, I also had something funny to mention.
Let's go.
You were saying TikTok, and I thought you were talking about. There's been I don't know why I assumed you would know a TikTok thing.
Yes.
But
Habitually out of the loop.
Similar to wrist diameter copers. We've got a new one, which is clavicle length is the sole thing that determines how good your physique is going to be.
No, they're right.
They're right.
They're right. It's fucked me up.
It's been like a weird new thing. It's been like, you're absolutely done for, man. Narrow clavicles, you're cooked.
Yeah, he's got some beefy clavicles. Kirsten.
Oh, let's go. Kirsten's got the real best bodybuilding genetics in his household.
Hell yeah. So, got a very funny comment the other day that you highlighted to me.
Sam has a policy of if you he gets like a rude comment, not to tell him about it.
Yeah, if I've missed it, I don't want Max to tell me about it. I just would rather be blissfully ignorant, right? Oh, this one's so funny though. Like, it's usually just people trying to get your goat, and even if they get your goat, obviously you don't admit they got your goat because that just encourages it, right? So funny. Worst attempt at getting my goat I've maybe ever heard. Okay. It was on. I want to say it was on my video, just kind of like breaking down. I want to say it was the one where I was talking about like, hey, if you're going to do RP style training, I prefer not stacking together a high rep set with a exaggerated tempo. I think the combination of those two things, the set spans a little bit too long and people are more likely to be limited by like lactic acid and mental toughness and their lungs than the proximity to failure, which we all agree proximity to failure matters. So whatever, like a bunch of people were like, would you disagree with a doctor? And it's like, yeah. And somebody hit me with like a weird analogy where they're like, this is like a day trader, like disagreeing with a professor of economics. And it's like, yeah, so if the disagreement was about like what to do with your specific portfolio, I'd be really interested to hear the guy that focuses on that like micro scale.
Yeah, it's a practical application versus theory. I think both have like valid.
I'd be interested to hear him out. Yeah. Nobody was disagreeing with the points I raised, which was fucking weird. But the guy commented, all that confidence, but he still wears a hat to hide his receding hairline. One, receding hairline is the most generous description of my hair I've ever heard. To hide my hairline, I just need to look forward. It's on the back of my fucking head. I'm bald. Right?
That's such a funny thing. Like, I don't know where you would come up with the idea of like, this guy's really trying to hide it.
Yeah, like I'd look at the page. I don't know. Like, I can't run away. I don't have hair. Receding hairline where? And he's like, wearing a hat inside. I was like, this is clearly not a hat wearer. You don't like take your hat off at the door. If you're wearing a hat for the day, you're wearing a hat for the day. And I need to stop my bald ass head from being sunburned. If I go walk the dog too many times during the day without a hat, I get a sunburn on the top of my head.
God, that seems so gross. I like the idea
of no fun.
My scalp burned.
I don't think I've ever badly burned the top of my head because I'm conscientious of it. But like, I'm in and out of the house all day. So if I'm wearing a hat, I'm wearing a hat. But I was like, this is one, weird self-report that you don't go outside very much. Two, am I not supposed to be confident in my appraisal of like RIR based high rep sets because I'm bald? Like, all that confidence, but you're a pussy. I'm like, okay, fuck.
Unlike Dr. Mike who shows off his head shape.
Yeah, Dr. Mike is willing to show that he's bald. I was like, fuck, all right, I won't wear my hat, fine.
Also, very funny, Sam and I have had a wager for a couple of years because every single dude in our family is bald.
Yeah, people get a real like weird like, is it Schadenfreude?
Oh yeah, well, it's like the pleasure in other people's.
Yeah, people are really happy that I went bald. They're like, deal with the fucking side effects. Yeah, I should have been natty like me. And it's like, I know you don't believe me, right? But it would have happened regardless. Our dad went bald at 21. Our grandpa went bald at 23. Our uncle went bald at like 21. And it's like, could I try and fight that uphill battle of like gobbling finasteride and rubbing minoxidil all over my head and microneedling? I could try, but I think that'd be a very sad losing battle. Like if I'd make it to like what, like 27, and then just have to come to terms with the fact that I lost that war. I'd rather give up in the fucking. I'd rather just not try. But people are like, you get weird comments. where they're like, serves you right. It's like,
Well,
fuck, what the hell is wrong with you guys?
It's been like a large portion. Also, wasn't even like people being like, "Ugh, a steroid user finally facing the consequences." Which like our dad had a receding hairline. I think at like 19. Like it was there was some
those pictures
brutal photos.
Those pictures are rough.
Like freshman year of college, where it's like he's got like a pretty thick.
And he like shows, he's like, I was so handsome. It's like, dude, come on.
Our adopted uncle also went bald at 21.
I know, it's like anybody's even like
Related.
in our proximity. So like Max's hair will go, but it's gonna last longer than mine did. We've had a running bet on this. I may have made choices that screwed me over in this race.
Yeah,
but I think Max has one more year to go with like remotely passable hairline, and he will have beaten me.
Because right now I would say I'm coming back a little bit, but we're good. It's still like no one would ever be like, you're balding.
Yeah, when I was, you're 22 now.
Yep.
When I was 22, no, like receding, nothing. And then I was 23. I may have done some things, and it disappeared.
That's a very funny one. Is that you've noted?
I think I was on a sick pace.
One training block.
Yeah, mysteriously there was one training block. And it's like, ooh, that shit went away fast. It was like I can go back and I can find it in my Instagram exactly when it happened too, because it's like deadlift videos where my top of my head is facing the camera. You can like spot exactly when it happened.
I also thought it was very funny that you held on to it like a little bit longer than you should have.
I went back. Not only did I hold on to it too long, I went back and forth. Like I saw it, I was like, I'm fucked. I shaved my head.
Yeah.
And then I just like woke up in the morning like, maybe it's come back.
It's feeling pretty dense.
And I was
Actually.
like, yeah, this is pretty good. Like, maybe I gave up and I shouldn't have gave up, and I grew it back out, and I was like, ooh, that was a mistake.
Yeah,
I
was
rocked it for like a good 6 months, but it's like I don't regret it, you know.
If I was you, I would film a deadlift from the floor. It's like that top down angle. You got like the full U shape.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Honestly, it looked pretty cool.
But the hat guy was right. Every time I forget to shave my, sorry, I cut you off. Every time I forget to shave my head for just like a week or two, I'm reaching for the fucking hat. I look like Mr. Burns. It's not a good look. I aged like 10 years as soon as I get that fucking ring around my head.
Do the same start getting any gray hair? I think you're gonna get a lot of points for like, this guy's gonna go to like I think 50.
I hope so. Dude, I hope I'm just like one of those guys that goes like full gray beard at like 35 when your strength potential is still wicked high. So I get a bunch of credit I shouldn't get. Where it's
old
like
man strength.
Everybody commenting on Mike T's stuff be like, it's so inspiring to see you lifting heavy still at this age. And he's like, I'm 38.
I'm not even 40. That's so funny. So into training talks.
Let's go. You've been thinking a lot. I told Max. The other day, Max was deadlifting. I was just kind of hanging out in the garage with him. Max spit out more random theories about lifting than I've heard him come up with in the last like 2 months. He's been thinking. The cerebral one has been thinking.
It's so funny.
Heavily. Max was coming up with theories about fan-shaped muscles. That's how much he's been thinking.
Theories isn't. I don't know the word for them, but
fan-shaped is right.
Hey, pretty good pull. So log booking benefits and L's, because I've been so log booking is, when I say it, I mean like having like a number, like a weight and set reps, and like coming in with the specific intentions of like making sure I get this done within some standard of like quality of reps, but like just trying like harder each week to like try and beat.
Add a rep or add weight.
Yeah. So like beat
like recording your assistance work and trying to add to it either in weight or reps the following week.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have been kind of loose log booking, I would say.
Yep.
And like I'm making sure I'm like actively tracking all of my like accessories and stuff, and like I feel like I'm trying to have like specific intentions on each of them. Where it's like my hanging leg raises, I don't super need to like log book a beat every time. Partially because I split my hand open if I push them super hard.
Yeah.
But like ab wheel is something where it's like, oh, I should probably be trying to actively get extra reps.
How were your overweight ab wheel set?
Really productive. Sam was like, Sam, I'm doing like sets of 30 on kneeling ab wheel, and standing's not super practical.
And by not practical, it means he can't do what?
I don't know why. I can bang out like a pretty clean set of 30. Like, I don't think I'm cheating them either. Like
I don't think you do.
I think if I told someone like, oh yeah, I can do fucking.
Well, I mean, who knows? I think if you really hard committed, you could just do what everyone does, which is a bad one, where you lose your brace and you go into extension. You're like, I can do standing ab wheels. And it's like, well, standing ab wheel is an anti-extension exercise. If you just extend to get back up, you can't do a standing ab wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, I think you could probably, if you like hard committed to just like I'm getting back up no matter what, you could do one.
But so I just threw 50 pounds in a backpack and did some ab wheel. Really productive. Definitely felt like, okay, I kind of need to progress this somehow.
You did 225 or 225s?
225s.
That makes more sense to me.
Also very funny, I got trapped in the backpack for a moment. I was like pretty claustrophobic, and I had like a moment of like freaking out, and then fucking Jim was like, get off me!
The standing ab wheels are like one of my party tricks. I think I can do a set of 8 on those.
That's pretty impressive.
And it's like, I just have like a list of like party tricks where I'm big enough for them to be impressive, but it's just my massive cope because everybody that's bigger than me is stronger than me. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, but can you do a fucking dragon flag? Can you do standing ab wheel?
Yeah, I haven't done a dragon flag in...
Easy, you can do it.
Okay.
It's not.
Oh,
it's like I did that like full ROM dragon flag where you start like pseudo planche and then come over and then return to like pseudo planche. That Aaron Murray challenged, and that was pretty hard. I don't know if you could do that, but you could easily do a regular dragon flag. Like that's very well within your core strength.
Brother, can I call you out right now?
Let's go.
You have made a claim that I think we should document on YouTube.
Okay. What'd I say?
You said...
Did I fuck up?
With very little...
Did I fuck up?
With not that much training, you could do a planche push-up.
Like a bad one?
Yeah.
I think I maybe could.
You call the timeline right now.
I don't know if I want to work on it right now. But I mean like, not the really pretty ones where their legs are like, I mean like where you go like really wide straddle and you're hinged at the hips pretty heavily. Mm. I don't know. Call me crazy. I think I might be able to.
Okay. Let us know in the comments section. Really.
I mean, no, I could be totally I could be totally wrong. I can do like enough lower level calisthenic stuff that I feel like I've got a shot. But I also most definitely, I couldn't do like the palms flat on the floor. I just don't have the mobility to do that. And I also think that's a bicep risk. Mm-hmm. I would do the parallel bar things that we have at the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be I'm not going to lie. I could be totally misunderstanding how difficult it is.
Because I've never seen a strength athlete even close to your size do.
I don't know. Maybe I've just like bought into the hype too much. But I'm like, yeah, Shane Hunt could do it.
I really think that would be like a real easy clout pull for you if you just did.
People were impressed by that weird like full ROM dragon flag thing.
Okay, yeah.
I hate that I have to rely on these like athletic copes where I'm like, well, yeah, I might be like, it's pretty good for a 260 guy. Here's me doing a broad jump, and everybody's like, whoa, that's your body weight. That's quite good. And I'm like, please just appreciate my lifting. That's what I'm actually training.
I've been doing vertical jumps on deadlift day.
Yep.
Box jumps to warm up.
Yep.
So I'm gonna have to challenge you to another vertical contest pretty soon here.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Do we have more sticky notes?
We don't.
Fuck. Okay.
No, I'm gonna wait until I drop some weight after I get this deadlift.
No, that's fucked up.
Because I'm gonna fuck you. When I cut down to like 255, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm excited for that little drop in body weight, but. Did you have any thoughts in mind with that logbook discussion?
Oh yeah, that is a great question. Honestly, the benefits I feel like are more so on like the sessions that I don't want to do. Is it's a really good way to hold myself accountable. Where like the sessions that I'm like amped for, where like I'm like really like I want to like I've been very like stoked on trying to like have a little bit of a deadlift come back. Like I haven't done a very impressive deadlift in a while, and like we've had like a string of weird injuries and tweaks, and like I'm trying to like build myself into a robust deadlifter again.
Yep.
It's like every session I feel like I have like active motivation. Like I have this like specific goal that I'm very motivated to do, but it's like tertiary bench day or whatever. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's really easy to like coast through your stuff if you just have like 3 sets of 8 to 12 at this RPE of just stagnating, and I feel like that's where for me logbooking has been like huge. Is just being like, what did I do last week? Very conscious of that. I need to beat this because I know I can. Yeah. And I feel like that is where like if I just wasn't thinking about it, I'm just like, oh, I can do anywhere between 8 and 12 reps and it'll be fine. And also some of the things where like I find myself just kind of like being like, all right, let me get through the rest of the session. All the important stuff is done. Yeah. Where like we were doing like weighted back extensions. I feel like having a very like a log book of like the amount of weight I did and the amount of reps I did, and be like, I need to beat this to progress. Yep. Because like there are emotions where like just forcing progression is a bad idea, and like I think doing this on everything of just like I'm gonna do more than I did last week is like I'm a high enough level lifter, and most people like even if you're an intermediate, you're not gonna be able to just force a linear progression.
I don't know. I think a lot of guys could. There's a reasonable number of motions where you could force a +1 most weeks, and then when you get 15, you round up to the next weight, and then try to force a +1. I think there are some just like exercise where you can just choose to get your +1.
Yeah, and so I think that like if you're out there and you've got a session that you're kind of you think that like you're not coming as motivated as you should be, I think it might be potentially a helpful suggestion of like just like have your accessories picked out that you know are like safe and like productive for you, and like really focus on like trying to beat them week to week, and like that's kind of become the goal because I have it's like a tempo technique day.
Yep.
It's like still
it's a heavy tempo day.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's not like I think people are gonna misunderstand if you call it a technique day.
Oh yeah,
it's not a technique day. It's a heavy tempo day, but we like it because of the effects heavy tempos have on your technique.
Oh, that's a better point. We're like basically taking like heavy tempo and like some back downs, but they're not like super hypertrophy focused. They are still like heavy enough that it's still like technique.
The reps are lower, big like heavy tempo sets.
Yeah.
On bench press. I don't know if we said that.
Yeah, on bench press, and that's kind of the day that like I'm coming in. It's like immediately post squat day, and usually that's like the middle of my work week. So I'm usually like more tired that day, and I think that's the one that's been most beneficial. Is just like I have like a high incline Smith and jam press.
Yep.
And just being like I know I'm not going to get injured on this. Like I just know myself and my body well enough. I'm not going to hurt anything. I can just go as hard as I want to.
Yep.
And just being like forcing yourself to be like I have to beat what I did last week or this is like a failure of a session, it creates like I'm more invested to go into the session than I was before because I feel like I have this like, tangible goal of like even if I'm having a bad day I can just force it to be good but through effort, and so like it creates more of a goal than being like I have to go in. Like if you have a session that's like more technique focused or like you're not like you can't just like sheer effort your top set or whatever, I feel like if you're someone who like likes doing that like more intensity focused stuff, like creating the goal being like I'm gonna do good technique reps and then I'm gonna beat my log book is like a better way to create that, like make that session more interesting or like
you can have a top set where it's like beat the book set with like good enough technique and then down sets where you clean it up, and like your JM presses are just like a very much because they're stable so you can grind. You can choose to get your +1 more times than not.
Yeah,
it's just a choice. It's safe. It's failable. You feel your rate of injury is low, right? That's a perfect example where like, I'm gonna force some fucking progression here. And I think going through phases of like really pushing the assistants hard, maximal logbook style is really good because you'll have like I see it all the time at the gym. You'll have a lifter. I'm like, you're actually not like they're like my deadlift feels so bad. I was like, your technique's pretty good. The reason your deadlift always feels bad is because you're lagging in your general physicality. Like deadlifts are always gonna feel rough if you have a really weak upper back. They're just never gonna feel good, no matter how well you cue it. And the people that end up in that, like they're always like, what cue is gonna get my deadlift feeling good? And it's like, it's log booking your assistance work for a while, you'll get crazy returns. Or like, if you got weak quads, squatting is always going to feel bad. Yeah. There's no way you can cue away from squats not feeling particularly good if you have like these big gaps in your physicality. So you have like, okay, I'll select some good things I can work real hard on, like maybe some belt squats and some leg extensions. Aggressive logbook, choose to beat the books for like a good phase of like 6 weeks. And suddenly that same squat technique that I think was decent from the start will feel as good as it looks, right? A lot of the time that like it looks good but feels bad is a lot of the time it's not a technique thing. It's the fact that you're lifting at like the upper ends of what your musculature is ready to handle. So going through periods of going fucking sicko mode on like your assistance package. Different people need a different assistance package. You have rows that work for your deadlift. I have rows that work for my deadlift. Yeah. They're not the same rows, but we each have a row. Yeah. We each have a vertical pull. We each have we're doing back extensions. I like using kettlebell swings. We're gonna have you try them. I don't know if they'll work or not, but they fit a similar part of the assistance package. Yeah. Having periods where you push the fuck out of your assistance package is good, but then sometimes you just keep chasing. Like you see how that works, and you think that's the never-ending like golden brick road. Yeah. And you're like, it worked, so I just need to keep doing this. And you like enter that peak of Mount Stupid, where you're just like, I understand all about lifting, you know?
It's so simple. I just needed a logbook and push myself. That's like everyone else is just being a coward.
Exactly. That's like the big like Dunning-Kruger guy who breaks through mid-intermediate to become better and sees his peers failing. He's like, I figured out you have to work hard in your assistance work. You're all idiots. I understand everything about lifting, and anybody better than me is doing the same thing I am, but they've got better genetics. I can see the differences between me and everybody else and know exactly what it is. It's like that's an insane way to think. And every now and then I run into someone with like, so it's always some dude with like a 1,400 total, like 14 to 15. Like it's a bit like a dude who takes it seriously. Like you're good at this, right? Yeah. But they're always just at that peak of like, I've got to figure it out. Yeah. I get it. Lifting is quite simple if you truly know what I know. And it's like, okay, damn, fuck. I hope I learned that one day.
It's an interesting point that I don't know if we've talked about on Large Lads, but where it's like, as we've gotten...
Slow down just a little bit.
Am I going fast?
You're going a little fast.
Okay.
I'm probably going just as fast, but I'm like, damn, he's fucking losing his cool.
I'm just freaking out.
Dude, he's fucking spazzing right now.
I've been thinking a lot lately.
Didn't think too much.
It's an interesting point that me and you have talked about before. Of like, as we've gotten stronger, it's been more like what's yada yada. Like we could do less to progress to like avoid like injury risk or like doing lighter accessories for better fatigue.
Erring more on the side of minimum effect, like what needs to be done, not what could be done. Right.
Yeah, and thinking about that in terms of like yada yada, advanced lifter, what are they doing now versus what they did to get there?
Yep.
And you've talked about how like being like, oh, what is like the least or lowest weight thing that's like driving stimulus is really good for an advanced level lifter because their top set is just driving so much like effective stimulus where you're doing 800 for 3 on a squat.
Yeah.
It's like that is a profoundly
you'll see like someone like Jesus where it's like, wow, his assistance is light.
Yeah.
And it's like that's to accommodate for the fact like he did a 4x8 at 750.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yes, of course he's not going to go blood and guts on a leg press afterward. Because that's just not how that works.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I train way harder than that guy. And it's like, I don't think you understand the difficulty of that 4x8 factoring into like the total session difficulty.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because I and you really romanticize that method of lifting that works earlier, where you are just kind of going life and death on an array of 6 exercises, with the squat just being one of 6. That's slightly more important, but you're really just trying to progress all 6. And I think dabbling back into that for phases of the year is really good to build up your like general base in terms of physicality. Like I'm doing 5 exercises and squat is weighted no heavier than the other 4 as well.
Yeah.
Right? Will your squat go up as an elite lifter? No. But that does build a physicality that when you turn back to the squat is 80% of the day, it's going to shoot up, right? And you just have to know, like, if you've been spamming either the specificity lever or the general physicality lever too long, you need to know that you need to learn to like the other way. But yeah, I think there's periods, right, where it's like, what does my row, what's the least my row can be, and to be ready for this 880. And I've got a number in my head, and if I'm ahead of schedule, maybe I'll pull that out early, or I'll start coasting on that and turn my focus to something that is behind schedule, where I'm like, okay, I hit my, like, based on the data I've collected, like this set of rows translated to this deadlift, and it did feel like my upper back handled that deadlift well. So that means if I want a 20-pound deadlift PR, I probably want to add like 15 to 20 pounds to that set of rows to be similarly prepared. If I get that done early, I'm like, ooh, I'm behind schedule for the, like based on the data I've collected, my ab numbers need to be to here. I'll put more training economy in terms of sets or just going more all out on like the ab sets and pull back the thing that's ahead when I'm like preparing for something specific. But I think in the off season, it's fun as fuck to just push them all.
Yeah, I think that's like when you're like you know, beginner, intermediate, I don't know, wherever you land, if you're like less totally strong or less absolutely strong, is the better way to put that. I think there, where it's like early in my training block, belt squat is equally or more important than my main squats. Or like stiff legs are equally, if not more important than my main set deadlifts.
Yeah.
Because it's like we know this is a really good base builder that honestly has like maybe more carryover than just doing like a shitload of reps at 500 or whatever. And I think that like building, like to have a squat, bench, or deadlift, like really heavy compound movements feel good, there's just like a minimum level of physicality that like I think just driving up like heavier compounds like really hard is probably, like, with good technique, is probably going to be like equally if not more effective.
For sure.
That like people are like, oh.
Well, it depends, right? It's like it can only be more effective if you're in the spot that you're supposed to be, which is that you're a better squatter than belt squatter.
Yeah.
By a lot. You should never be a better belt squatter than squatter if squat's the outcome. That just means you've mangled your training priorities, right? Like you should be a better deadlifter than you are a rower. If you're a better rower than you are a deadlifter, that's cool. That's just what your training has been. But if you're a power lifter, you're an idiot, right? You've really mangled this, right? The only way that like the belt squats are able to give you better returns than just more squat volume is the fact that you're way better at squats and you're way worse at the belt squats, right? It's the same thing with the RDLs. If you were an RDL monster and you were doing like with your technique 6 plates for 6, right? Because Max uses a very strict, very flat back, very hip hinge heavy, big stretch in the hamstrings RDL technique on a deficit. Hypothetically, if you did that, that's doable. There are people that could do that, right? I would argue in the early block, there's no way it would be better than just putting in deadlifts.
Yeah. That's really a fair point. I guess I probably interact with more people who are like power lifters, and I think they identify as like, oh, I'm a power lifter too early, where the priority is solely placed on like the thing that's important is my squats today, and then everything else is like weird junk volume. Mm-hmm. And like I guess if I was speaking to those people specifically, like
because they're in the same group as you, but on accident.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And like there definitely are people that we know that like fall into over like physicality maxing.
Yeah, well, they're just like, it's the coolest thing to have the biggest dumbbell bench, rather than a dumbbell bench as a means to an end. And once that's where it needs to be at. It's so funny, because I was thinking about this the other day. If I heard this about 5 years ago, I'd just be like, fucking cope. I train harder than you. I most definitely would have thought that.
Honestly, it does kind of irk me.
I've always been very charitable. Like, I look up to really strong people. Not because they're all good people, but because I know what it takes to get really strong, and it's really fucking hard, and it is tough on your body, and you're tired all the time.
Yep.
So people that get there, even if they're a bit of a piece of work, I have some base level of respect for them. Mm-hmm. Not because I think, ooh, might makes right, strong people are just better.
Yeah.
It's just I know what it's taken to get there, even for genetically inclined people.
Yeah.
It's still a lot. And I know what that lot is, so I have some like base level of respect. So I think I've always been like pretty charitable. When I would see a session, I'd be like, man, my session looks harder on paper.
Yeah.
This guy's strong and a stud and cool. It must be that working up to a 900-pound squat is a lot harder than me working up to 500. That must be the answer, because there's no way I'm working way harder than Eric Lillibridge. I don't believe that. So I've always been like charitable with that, and I think it led me to the right conclusion, you know?
Yeah, there's some part of me that is like slightly irked by the fact that my sessions look less hard and cool than they did like a couple years ago.
We just gotta fucking lock into those Andrew House type sessions where you just fucking nuke yourself.
Well, I was just like...
those are the coolest training videos.
I was looking back like a couple years ago where it's like, we were doing like a top set of 7 on pause deadlifts, beltless, then a top set of 7 on beltless deadlifts, and then like 3 sets of 7 on regular deadlifts, and then stiff legs rows, and then all of my like machine row, and then like hamstring curl. And I was like, that is too much, probably. I was probably not working hard enough on all my stuff, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, holy shit, I was at the gym for so long.
Or even like when we were training together in the garage at Prime, we were going pretty crazy in like a competitive way.
Yeah.
But it ruined your bench training cycle.
Yeah.
Because you were just so tired from those days. Like, your squat and deadlift fucking went up, right?
Yeah.
Hard work works. If it doesn't hurt you, hard work will make you, like, you can literally just take the square peg and hit it hard enough and it will go.
Yeah.
You might hurt yourself or it'll work. You know what I mean? Like, brute force methods almost never, if you just brute force eat and train and sleep, you can force your way through most plateaus. It just starts to stop working when things start to get hurt. Once you're a little absolutely stronger or you're a little older, and then it becomes a matter of like, okay, I'm competing with the other guys who are passionate about this to the level that they'll brute force the fuck out of this for no good reason. Like, they're getting no returns, no one's paying them, but they're a little off in the head and they're willing to go way too hard to hit another deadlift PR. Then it's who gets a little clever. Like, I've said this a million times on the channel. We'll move on to the next point now. But it's like, it's then a matter of who gets a little bit more clever with organizing their stuff and who can make that transition to like, what do I have to do to be ready? Yeah. And that's why like you'll see guys hit a PR total at 35 and be like, no, I was way stronger when I was 28. I'm just a better power lifter now.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, you know, Dan Green like eking out like a squat PR. I think he even said, he's like, when I was younger, I was a lot stronger. Like, I was doing like crazy shit with like the SSB and this and this and this. But I didn't exactly put it together to display what that base was capable of. So it was very beatable even now that I'm like a little older. And I think that's how guys sneak out PRs into their late 30s and early 40s, right? Is by getting a lot smarter. Like, they were probably absolute physicality wise their best in like their early 30s. But you'll see guys like get 8 more years of little total PRs before they retire.
Yeah.
And it's just because they're getting better at bringing their absolute best to the platform and better and better and better, even though their physicality is almost backsliding a little bit.
Yeah. And like, yeah, that's a very good point. That well, it actually kind of hit on exactly what we were going to talk about like a balancing like session investment, like yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the like we'll get through this because we got what, like 1 or 2 more.
I mean,
I'll do this.
technically we've asked one of them.
Yeah, I'll do this one. I'll do this one fast.
And
right?
meandered around.
The session investment is the exact same as the accessory investment,
Yep.
right? If your rows are going, if you say I need to get, like, I don't know, you're just some random guy, and you're like, I need to get to 200 pounds for my 3 sets of 10 on rows to be ready for this deadlift. I'm not going to guess a number because how you do the rows changes the number a lot. But it's like, I need to do 200 pounds. I want to do 455 deadlift. I need 200 pounds for my 3 sets. That's what my data tells me. Because I remember I was doing 185 when I pulled, I don't know, 435. So it's like, okay, that roughly would probably have me ready. It feels good. You're like, holy fuck, my rows are going crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can push that up to 2 plates.
Yeah.
Right? That's good and fun, and it has a time and a place. And early in training, you can probably get away with just pushing everything to your limit, right? But if you have a motion after that that's behind schedule, right? Your hamstring curls, you're like, oh, I'm not on pace to hit the sets that I think I need to. If I was you, I would drop a set or 2 of the rows to like maintenance level because we're already there, right? And do more sets of the hamstring curls. Try to catch that shit up in time. It's the same thing with days of the week. If you're like, holy fuck, Sam, my squat is so far ahead of schedule. Like I'm getting 2 or 3 more reps than this time last block. So a little bit more weight and more reps. Ooh, I'm on pace for the 8-10 that we want to do, right? I'd be like, awesome. We're going to drop your assistance work back earlier than we normally would because bench is behind.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to be like, maybe I can do 825.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like you get so attracted to these jumps up in level that you kind of lose the plot of like, hey, if 5 times a year we hit a 5-pound PR, our total goes up 75 a year.
So funny, you just knocked out like almost all the topics.
I know. I was trying to tie it into that, right? Where it's like you lose the plot because you start imagining making this jump as a level in a lifter, not in like the gradual way that generally is how it should work. But you start being like, I could do it. But that doesn't mean you should, because then you're going to have like 2 dud blocks after that. If you force that big next increment onto the bar, rather than accepting like a good rate of progression that's actually in line with how fast you can get better.
There's a really good piece of advice. This is something that if you have followed me in Sam's training, know that both of us have fumbled this many, many, many times throughout our training career. Like both of us have just not followed this piece of advice and done the opposite. But earnestly, right now, I am telling you, as someone who's been lifting for 10 years, one of the best things I think I can tell you is like, just don't like go into a block with a specific number, like big number jump being like, oh, I'm at like 475 deadlift right now. I've been taking like 5 to 10 pound PRs. I've been progressing really well. I'm going to jump to 500 because I feel so close to it right now. That is such an easy way.
It sabotages your progression so bad. Like you see, like a guy will bench 375, and he's been smart up to this point where each 10-week block, however he blocks out his training, whatever, each 10-week block he's getting a 5-pound PR or a 10-pound PR if he's doing a good job, and it moves with a little in the tank, and he doesn't go up and take it. Like let's say he's like. He did 365, and he could have done 375, but I want to save it for next block. Then he does 375. And it's like, things are going so smooth. But then he's like, 405, I can see it. And then he tries to force 405 the next block. And misses. And he doesn't secure the 380. Then he tries to secure 405 again, and he doesn't secure the 380. Congrats, you got 2 blocks without securing a PR. And it ends up taking him longer to go from 375 to 405 than if he had just kept chipping away with the 5 to 10s. And this has happened to my clients, no matter how many times I tell them, like, dude, your goal is 380. And it's like, maybe if we do a great job, we'll do 385, and you'll get to the 405. I know you want the 405.
Yeah.
But you'll get to the 405 faster if you take these incremental blocks. And even if they force it, which I kind of respect, it's fine, we've done it. But if they force it, right, and they get it done, maybe like first block they miss, and they're like, they get even more motivated, and they just fucking burn the boats, go nutso. They get it. They always PR for like 3 entire training cycles after that. And it's like, they plateau for 3 training cycles.
Oh, plateau, sorry,
Yeah, plateau for 3 training cycles after that. And it's like, if we just accepted getting X amount better. And it's like, it doesn't have to be 5 pounds. You don't have to throttle your progress. It could be 10, it could be 15. But don't lift the absolute most weight you can at the end of every block. Set a rate of progress that's in line, like a rate of PRing that's in line with how your level, your genetics, how strong you can actually get better. Don't try to outpace the speed at which you can actually get better, or you're gonna run into like hard walls. We've made this mistake, but like with your squat, we did a really good job of just like every block. Maybe if it didn't go well, we opt out of testing, and then we go for 10-pound PR the next block instead. But it's still chasing that 5 5 blocks a year, 5 pounds better each block, right? Eventually, it maybe becomes a 5 pound PR every other block, but it's still chasing that every 10 weeks we try to get slightly better, and we try to leave a little bit of momentum on our side.
Yeah, like that's something like it like makes so much sense if you write it down or like say it to someone, but no one believes it. If you think like you have 5 blocks a year, you're hitting 5 to 10 pound PRs. That's 75 to 100 pounds on your total. Imagine where you'll be if you just commit to this for 5 years.
It could be 150 if you did 10s.
Yeah,
like, it's like a 10 pound PR. People are like, I worked so hard, I only got 10 pound PR. And it's like, no, that's a insane rate of progression. Yeah, if you do that all year, your total goes up to 150.
Yeah.
And if you do it for 3 years, your total goes up to 450.
Yeah, but
it's
you
just
go
like,
from 1,200 to 1,800, and not that like crazy of a time.
But it feels like a long time. And it's
Yeah.
like, that's why you need to enjoy just living your life in that +5 zone.
Yeah.
Working hard enough if a guy just likes living in that +5s and he's content, that guy is going to stick with it for a long time, and he's going to beat the guy who desperately wants to enter the next echelon. Like, you and I have done it. We're like, you're starting to knock on the door of feeling like you're bottom end of elite.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just want a spot at the table. That's all I want. I'm not saying I'm going to be the best anytime soon. I understand it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
But I want to enter the door.
Yeah.
And I'm going to force into the door, and you throw out that rate of progression, it fucks everything up. And you and I have done it, probably less than other people, but we still do it. And it's like, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
What I am doing with my deadlift is not how I advocate training. One of my biggest things is like with my clients, secure the PR. It's like my trademark at this point.
Yeah.
If you feel like you got 20 pounds stronger this block, 375 bencher.
Yeah.
Like that guy is just gonna be an idiot and attempt 405.
Yeah.
That's fine. I get it.
Yeah.
That's a huge that's such a monumental milestone. I kind of get it. I wish everybody would be level-headed and smart and like take their time and get it properly.
Yeah.
And like you don't want it's the worst feeling in the world to get it and then watch the video and then not know whether you can count it. That ruins such a big moment. Like, oh, I cut it high. Train for an extra block so you can do it to depth.
Yeah.
Train an extra block so you can do it without your butt coming up. So that way you can truly have no doubt in your mind about you earning that PR.
Yeah.
And don't ruin it when you watch the video back or you get a comment. You're like, fuck, I worked so hard for that. And it's like, just take an extra block to be able to do it without a doubt, right? But like, let's say that 375 bench guy, like he's got 405 in mind. He didn't add 30 pounds to his bench. He had 20 pounds to his bench. If you are wrong and you jump to 395 and you miss, and then you back down to 380 and you miss again.
Yeah.
You somehow just had a monster of a training cycle.
Yeah.
Already, like 375 was already an advanced bench presser. And you added 20 pounds to your mat, or 15. You would have gotten 390.
Yeah.
Right? You had a monster of a training cycle, and you managed to fumble it so bad you walked away with no PRs at all.
Yeah.
I would rather you just take the fucking 380, tire yourself out a little bit, and go up to 385 instead of the 390 you could have got. Like, but it's going to tire me out. Secure the PR. Avoid the worst case scenario, which is having a killer block and then having nothing. That's the worst case scenario. I don't like, people are like, best case scenario though is if I jump straight to 395, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, avoid the worst case because the worst case is going to happen more often than the best case.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just like do my job, which is every time I don't compete in powerlifting, but every time I step on the platform, as long as I hit a 2.5 kilo PR on squat, bench, deadlift from comp to comp, I'm doing my job. I compete a couple times a year. Eventually, I'll be quite good. Anything on top of that is a bonus. The same thing with training cycles until you're quite advanced, and then just, it becomes a little bit more complicated than just PR every 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. But it's still like, we're trying to get a little better every 12 weeks, right? Whether that's a PR, the stronger you get, the less that's how it manifests. But still, it's like, same thing, every meet. We're trying to get a little bit better. Any more is bonus. But we secure, like maybe you had a great prep. Secure the 2.5 PR on the platform with your second, and then have fun with your third. But avoid the worst case scenario, which is having a monster meet prep and walking away without your fucking PRs. Like, secure the PR is important. And I say all that, I am not going to go deadlift 860. It's very fatiguing at this level.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to force 880 onto the bar, and it's not the right way to do it. But it's a kind of challenge I've set for myself to try to do it before the end of the year. We'll see. I'm training hard. I think I can do it, but it's a reach.
Yeah, and like
Last thing. I'm looking forward to, after I do that 880, I'm going to break out a stiff bar, and I'm going to do the way I know his training is correct, which is like, first block, I'll probably just try to pull like 800 stiffy. That should move well. Then I'm going to try just like 810, even though I could just go straight to 835, and just like take a rate of progression and just work on my assistance work to give myself something I can sustain for a long time and kind of stay in the pocket for a whole year or two.
Yeah, I think that's like the best periods of training I've ever had are when we're like just taking 5 to 15 pound jumps depending, and like really accurately assessing like where are we at compared to previous blocks, and what would the goal be if we were like just objectively 800 is just like it's an arbitrary PR outside of like the way we've set up in numbers, but like nothing about it is like distinctly unique.
Yep.
And so just being like 800 is so cool. 795 is the better pick or whatever. And like I have like where it's like I'll have 6 months of like really really good progress for someone at my level, and I'm like damn, I'm progressing really well. That means I'm ready to take like a massive jump.
Yep.
And then I fuck myself and I don't progress for 4 months.
Yep.
Or like I'm still progressing because I'm working hard and I'm probably building muscle. But like I don't manage to get out of the PR because either I overextended myself or worst case scenario, I'll injure myself.
Yep.
Or like I cannot like. It's so funny because like I know I'm giving this advice, but also I know most of you guys aren't going to follow this because it's like it is so tough.
Well, maybe they won't. Maybe like if we just say it, people will follow it until they get to the 385.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like let's take our 5 pound bench PRs. Then we can just start like I do it, like fuck it. Like you're gonna have a sticky time after you get that 405 by forcing it onto the bar as soon as physically possible. But you got it. I'm proud of you. Just don't get burnt out afterward. You know what I mean? It's like, but if you can sustainably here's what I need to do on my assistants and just live in that +5 zone. There's a reason that like John Hack on the Elite FCS podcast, Ed Cohn in every interview is like, as long as I get 2.5 kilos every meet, I'm happy. Anything more is a bonus. I don't compare myself to other people. I'm just trying to get better every time. The comparison is the thief of joy, and it's also what fucks up my training every time because I'm like I just want a place at the table, right?
Yeah.
Like it's usually not like fuck this guy, I want to beat this guy. I just want a place at the table. I want to be considered elite. I've been doing this for a long time. I want to be bottom end of elite, and then I can work my way up from there. Yeah. But it's like just think about that's useless. Trying to get a little bit better than you were last block and preserving your training momentum is everything. And if you just stay in that zone and just do like, okay, this is where I need to get my assistance work, and don't try to jump the gun entering new echelons of lifting, that guy that just kind of stays in his own world is the guy that's going to kick my ass if I'm busy fucking looking at other people and trying to force weights on them. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like bench press. Like bench press is the lift I did the best job of that other than my 600 quest, right? But the 600 quest made sense because I was going to focus on strongman afterward. So I was going to be backing off a bench regardless. So I was going to force the most weight I could bench on the bench it, and then work on something else. My block after that 600 would have fucking sucked. Yeah. It would have been the worst block of my life, right? I'd be lucky to just replicate 600, to be honest, with an entire training cycle. I would probably have to goal shift a little bit. Yeah. Because that first blood, I'm not
like long pause or whatever.
Exactly. That first block, I'm not PRing anyway, so I'd have to goal shift, right? And so it's like, that was fine, right? But up till that point, I'd always been like, if I get +5, I think part of it is it's easier to do once you feel like you're good at something. Yeah. Because you're like, if I'm already good, +5 is great. Yeah. I'm happy living in that +5 zone if I'm good at it. But it's like people screw their progress on their worst lift, and it stays their worst lift because they so desperately want their bench press to get to the level they're already at on the other two lifts. And they're compared, like, these guys, I squat and deadlift more than them, but they're benching me and I'm losing. Yeah. And it's like they try to jump to the level of their competition. And it's like, stay in your own world and just try to get the 5, secure the PR, right? And if you want to go up afterward, okay. You still might, like, if you really just, like, force a weight on the bar, the next block's going to be a little rough. But if you're cognizant about your training and understand that's why the next block was rough, was because you balled out last block, you shouldn't be upset. You're like, okay, I kind of signed up for this. Fine, but don't burn out on it when, like, the block after you force a number is rough.
All right, guys, last time we asked you what your favorite color is. This time we're going to ask, what milestone are you looking forward to most? Someone asked, like, what's the Large Lads viewers' strength level? I'd be curious. What PR are you guys looking forward to most?
Yeah, what are you guys training for right now? What's your proverbial 880? Also, Max's favorite color is pink. That's all.
It's actually purple, but...
That was a Pinkeye joke.
Oh, fuck.